Hello, hi. Hi, my name's Rich, and today I want to talk about the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer subclass for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Recently I put up a poll on my... Recently I put up a poll on the community tab on the channel, and I gave you some options, and the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer came out on top with 38%. It was pretty close for the first 12 hours with the Scribe Wizard, but eventually the Clockwork Soul started gaining a lead and the momentum carried on from there. There was 25% on the Battlesmith Artificer, and there was 10% on the Champion Fighter. So to all the people that voted Champion Fighter, you know what the best subclass is. Now let's get started with the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. We'll do a little bit of the background on it first and then go through the mechanics. The cosmic force of order has suffused you with magic. That power arises from Mechanus, or a realm like it, a plane of existence shaped entirely by clockwork efficiency. You, or someone from your lineage, might have become entangled in the machinations of the modrons, the orderly beings who inhabit Mechanus. Perhaps your ancestor even took part in the Great Modron March. Whatever its origin within you, the power of the order can seem strange to others, but for you, it is part of the vast and glorious system. So, Clockwork Soul Sorcerer, heavily tied to Mechanus, and this is just an excuse for me to gush about Mechanus. It's a fantastic setting. Essentially, it's a plane of existence that's just full of gears, cogs, mechanical doohickeys, and it's populated by this race of mechanical beings called modrons. They can range from all different shapes and sizes. And the systematic hierarchy of the culture is defined by how many angles you have. So for example, a circle is the lower caste, and then you've got two-sided, a triangle, square, and then I think the Lord has 5 sides. I'm not 100% sure, but you can always deep dive into the wikis and find extra information about it. I know it was covered a little bit in Planescape Torment, but outside of that it's not very popular in modern media. The idea of modrons hark back to I think it was the 2nd edition when they first came out, and some of the pictures are quite goofy, but I think that adds a certain charm to the race. Actually, it's kind of disappointing that you can make some comparisons to minions, but their aesthetic is mechanical and deadly if you don't take them seriously. It's heavily tied to lawful neutral, so it's the exact opposite to a lot of the chaotic sorcerer origins. Now let's go over some of the mechanics with the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer, if you'll pardon the pun. Overall, the Clockwork Soul is very close to a cleric in the sense that their role in the party is not to be a frontliner or to deal tons of damage, but it's to support and provide buffs and debuffs. It has lots of abilities that can cancel out effects, negative effects on the party, or cancel out positive effects on the enemies. You don't have to play to that archetype, but that's where the strengths lie with this subclass. So for races, the first obvious choice is Warforged. You get plus to Constitution, and you can choose to add to Charisma. Outside of that, the Warforged always have great mechanics with Sentry's Rest, not needing to sleep, and getting a plus to AC is always a great bonus to get. But if you want to go for a pure Charisma build, then it's maybe not the best option. From the player's handbook, I would recommend you go for a half-elf or possibly a tiefling. They have natural +2 to Charisma, so... And another option is a high elf, because you get a free cantrip, which is always welcome. So, specifically about this subclass, the Aberrant Mind and the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer, both from Tasha's Cauldron, they are very different to the other subclasses for the Sorcerer, because they get 10 additional spells. They get a whole list of spells that, and this is the key, you can swap them out at every level. You can swap out one spell for another one. So generally speaking, if you get to level 20 as a sorcerer with other subclasses, you would only know about 15 spells, but getting an additional 10 spells is really letting you customize and be more powerful. That flexibility is one of the key draws if you've played a Sorcerer before, this is what sets it apart from the other subclasses. I mentioned that the Clockwork Soul is similar to Clerics, but you don't naturally get a healing spell. It's a lot of buffing, debuffing, adding extra hit points on top of it, adding extra hit points on top of your level, but you can't restore hit points. So if you're putting a Clockwork Soul Sorcerer into a party, you should always have a way to heal on top of that. The two feats I would recommend for this subclass are Inspiring Leader and Ritual Caster. Naturally, the Sorcerer doesn't have the ability to cast ritual spells, so this can open up your possibilities, and Inspiring Leader capitalizes on your natural charisma to be able to boost up your party even more with temp hit points. Now let's move on to the group of spells that the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer has access to. It's worth noting that the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer can replace one spell that they've gained from a feature with another spell of the same level when they gain a Sorcerer level. And the new spells must be Abjuration or Transmutation, but they do have access to the Sorcerer, Warlock and Wizard spell list, so a lot more flexibility. At level 1, the Sorcerer gets access to Alarm and Protection from Evil and Good. Now, Alarm is okay if you're under level 5 and no one has access to a safe place to sleep, but as soon as you get access to Tiny Hut, then its power is really diminished. Protection from Evil and Good is a standard, good quality spell to have. If you're fighting any undead or fairies or Feywild at lower levels, then this can help out. At 3rd level, you gain access to Aid and Lesser Restoration. The issue is with Aid is it increases 3 creatures with +5 to the current hit point maximum, which is great for a 1st level spell, but Aid's a 2nd level spell, so it's taking up a valuable spell slot. If you don't have anything better to do with your spell slots, then go for it, but I would choose something else when I get the chance to swap it out. And Lesser Restoration helps nullify blinded, deafened, paralysed or poisoned. So it's one of those things that's always handy to have in your back pocket. You won't be using it every session, but when you need it, you really need it. At 5th level, you gain access to Dispel Magic and Protection from Energy. Now, Dispel Magic is not on the same level as Counterspell, but it's still one of the most powerful spells you can get at 5th level. It's really the cornerstone of any Magic user's toolkit, and if you've played Magic the Gathering before, you'll know how powerful counter magic and blue spells can be in that setting. Protection from Energy, it lasts for 1 hour. It does take concentration, but being able to gain resistance to acid, cold, fire, lightning or thunder, it's a no-brainer. You should try and keep the spell. When you need it to get past a lava pit or use it in combat, it can work wonders, especially if you can sneak up on an enemy and figure out what kind of strengths and weaknesses they may have. At 7th level, you gain Freedom of Movement and Summon Construct. Freedom of Movement, it's another one of those spells that work into the Clockwork Soul archetype of being able to restore balance and order, but it's just okay. It's not fantastic. If you're facing difficult terrain or something causing you to get slowed down, then you'll rather have it than not have it, but it's not my first pick, especially at level 7. The 4th level spells can be wildly powerful. Now, Summon Construct, on the other hand, Summon Construct was introduced in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, along with the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer, and if you're interested in picking up a hardback copy of the book, there's an affiliate link in the description. If you click on the link and buy the book through that, then there's a little kickback to me, and every little helps. This is still a small channel at the moment, less than 2,000 subscribers, but being able to support us on Patreon or buying stuff through affiliate links really helps the channel monetarily. Summon Construct is a great way to get a little buddy that's going to help you out throughout combat and through exploration. Again, it's centered around the theme of Mechanus and Modron, so it's supposed to resemble a golem or a modron. Now, it's handy if another one of your party members has the spell Dragon Breath, or if you want to help a rogue get advantage by tying up an enemy. Plus, they're kind of neat. I like them. At 9th level, you get Greater Restoration and Wall of Force. Greater Restoration is not as commonly used as Lesser Restoration, but the effects that Greater Restoration nullifies are the sort of things that could kill a character outright, so it's kind of a get out of jail free card. But you should make sure your DM is aware that you have access to the spell without making it too obvious. That way the DM can set up potentially hazardous situations that they know you have a way to solve the problem. There's an answer to it. Wall of Force is one of the best area of effect map control spells that the wizard has, so to get it as a sorcerer is a great opportunity. And you should note that Wall of Force can't be dispelled by Dispel Magic. It can only be destroyed by Disintegrate. And the wall also extends into the ethereal plane, blocking ethereal travel through the wall. When you start hitting the higher levels and you get to more esoteric planes travelling shenanigans, then this can be quite useful, stopping enemies escaping into another plane. Now, let's move on to the abilities. At level 1, you gain access to Restore Balance. Your connection to the plane of absolute order allows you to equalize chaotic movements. When a creature you see within 60 feet of you is about to roll a d20 with advantage or disadvantage, you can use your reaction to prevent the roll from being affected by advantage and disadvantage. And you can use it a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You get it back on a long rest. Now this is a fantastic ability to have at level 20, but to get it at level 1, I'm not saying it's overpowered, but it can really turn the tide in situations. And thematically it ties in well with the whole idea of balance, order and chaos. You're definitely going to be an agent of order if you're playing a Clockwork Soul Sorcerer. Almost to a character fault. At level 6 you gain access to Bastion of Law. You can tap into the grand equation of existence to imbue a creature with a shimmering shield of order. As an action, you can expend 1 to 5 sorcery points to create a magical ward. This surrounds yourself or another creature you can see within 30 feet of you. The ward lasts until you finish a long rest or until you use this feature again. The ward is represented by a number of d8s equal to the number of sorcery points you spent to create it. When the warded creature takes damage, you can expend a number of those dice, roll them, and reduce the damage taken by the total rolled on those dice. Now technically this is not healing, it's prevention, but it still serves the same effect. It gives you the ability to help support people in the same way that Bardic Inspiration would. Bastion of Law at level 6 works well with the Aid spell. Being able to top up your max hit points and then prevent damage from happening works in synergy. We all know that topping up temp hit points don't stack, but this can work hand in hand with Bastion of Law. At level 14, you get Trance of Order. You gain the ability to align your consciousness to the endless calculations of Mechanus. As a bonus action, you can enter the state for 1 minute. For the duration, attack rolls against you can't benefit from advantage, and whenever you make an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can treat the roll of a 9 or lower on the d20 as a 10. Once you use the bonus action, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest or you spend 5 sorcery points on it. Now you're spending a lot of sorcery points, but this pretty much guarantees that when you attack something or when you need to make a clutch ability check, it's going to come out on top. Generally speaking, with ability checks, when you add your proficiency bonuses to it, you're probably going to need 8 or above to pass it. So this kind of knocks it out the park. It's fantastic. It is expensive, but you get one for free, so think about saving it for extreme situations. It's literally a get out of jail free card. At level 18, you gain access to Clockwork Cavalcade. You summon Spirits of Order to expunge disorder around you. As an action, you summon the spirits in a 30-foot cube originating from you. The spirits look like modrons or other constructs of your choice. The spirits are intangible and invulnerable, and they create the following effects within the cube before vanishing. So you get 3 effects from this. You can restore up to 100 hit points, divided among the players or creatures you choose. Any damaged objects entirely in the cube are repaired instantly. And every spell of level 6 or lower ends on a creature or an objects of your choice in the cube. Again, this is all about bringing law and order to the world. You can boost up the hit points. It's the first time you gain access to healing naturally, and it's 100 hit points. But at level 18, your party should have access to a lot more healing spells. The damaged objects is quite situational, and cancelling out spells and buffs is probably the most commonly used part of this skill. Once you use the action, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest, or you spend 7 sorcery points. But if you're hitting level 18, you should have a lot of sorcery points already. Well, let's break this down then. The class itself, if you're focusing on buffing and debuffing, it's lower A. The combination of spells and the ability to have a lot more spells puts it into a lower A, but the abilities I would say are a high B. All round, I would give it a B rank, because it's good if it plays to its strengths, but in hand-to-hand combat and other certain situations it doesn't really have the flexibility of a bard, for example. Well, thanks for watching the video. If you want to help out the channel, then you can throw me a couple of bucks and buy me a coffee on Patreon. If you don't want to send money my way, you can always leave a like and subscribe. That helps the channel out, helps fight against the algorithm. And if you want to continue the conversation, there's a Discord linked in the description. I should be on checking every day. If you have any questions, drop me a message in the Discord. Thanks for watching, I'll speak to you next time. Bye!